Hey everyone, welcome back to Make It Happen. My name is Dr. Brent Siebold from the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering and the J. Orrin Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute at Arizona State University. So every week we get together and talk about ways we can make it happen. In other words, set ourselves apart within our careers in industry or within our careers as entrepreneurs or innovators. And I can think of nobody better to help guide this discussion, this ongoing discussion, than my close friend and colleague, Riva Drummond, who he has like four different names, but those are the two names I can pronounce out of the four that he has. But Riva is a faculty leader within our W.P. Carey School of Business. He teaches entrepreneurship, he teaches innovation, he teaches a lot of things, but more than anything, he's a world-class doer. So he's done a lot of things in his career outside of academia that give him a lot of ability to talk shop in the world of making things happen out of nothing. So Riva, thank you so much for joining us at our weekly get together here. You want to say hi to everybody and correct my horrible introduction of you?
Man, that's great pronunciation of my name. I'm really impressed. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Brent, again for inviting me.
Fantastic. So Riva, as we discussed, what we love to do and make it happen is for you to share some tips and tricks that you've learned throughout the course of your career post-university or even during university. So I'm assuming you have some points that you're willing to share with the group.
Okay. So allow me to share my presentation here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I would ask you to use the old-fashioned way of get a pen or a pencil and write things down and write your questions. So when Brent asked me to do this talk and establish this conversation with you, he was more interested in lessons. I mean, what are the lessons I learned throughout my career in academia and out of academia? So I am one of the founders of a public listed company. I am also an independent board member for a few companies. One is in New York right now. It's a public listed company called Vitro Limited. And when I was looking back, I couldn't help but think about all the failures, right? All the problems we face, all the issues I was not mature enough to handle. And then I found this book somewhere in an airport. I think I was in Singapore when I saw this book, What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20. And I'm 28 now, as you can see, but moving away from the 20s. So I was trying to look back and think, what would I do different? What I wish I knew, I'm 51 now, what I wish I knew 30 years ago. And what could have helped me as an entrepreneur, as a thinker, as a leader in my company. So the first thing I would like to share with you is my first recommendation is we are all problem solvers. That's what we do for a living. We solve problems. So Brent Siebold is solving problems every day. No matter if he's teaching a class, no matter if he's helping a company be successful, no matter if he's mentoring students, he's always, every day, he's solving problems. So one thing I wish I knew is I wish I knew how to think about the nature of problems. Write this down. What is the nature of the problem you're trying to solve? So let's put it this way. Let's try to make it simple. So you have problems of relative certainty. They are kind of linear problems. So I worked for multinational enterprises like American Express, like Anderson Consulting, and so many others. And those companies are performance machines. They are efficiency machines. So they are dealing with problems of relative certainty, and they are linear problems. So we know which toolbox to apply. We know the tools we can use. We know how to do it. We know how to improve performance, but we don't know how to create companies. Sometimes we don't even know how to launch new products or services. We don't know how to find the best talent. And on the other side, you have problems of a different nature, of problems what I call them problems of uncertainty. They are non-linear problems. We like to think about things in a linear way, but when you're dealing with uncertainty and ambiguity, you are dealing with a different animal. So you can no longer use the same toolbox you use for traditional management. So that's the first thing I wish I knew, because most of the times, most of my failures in my companies, my teams, my partners, we failed because we try to apply traditional management to problems of of high uncertainty, and things didn't work out. I mean, for example, we were many times dealing with high uncertainty, trying to create a market, but we're trying to use the same old stuff we learned in business schools. We were using strategic planning, we're using process management, we're even using surveys. How can you survey markets that don't exist yet? So let's wrap it up. First thing I wish I knew. I wish I knew how to think about the nature problem we are solving. So we have problems on one side of high uncertainty. On the other side, you have problems of relative certainty and linear problems. So you need different toolboxes, different approaches. So let's keep going. So this is probably one of my favorite papers in academia. I read this paper, I was probably, I don't know, 20 something years old. This is Vikes and Daft's work on the relationship between organizations and environments. So we are always thinking about the external environment, no matter if you are in a startup trying to launch a product, no matter if you're working for IBM, you're thinking about the external environment. You want to learn about that environment. You want to understand the trends, the new behaviors, and you want to know how those trends and behaviors will impact your organization, your business. Okay, great. So on one side here, this is what's great about Vikes' framework is here on Y, we have the assumptions about the external environment. Is this environment analyzable or non-analyzable? Let's simplify here the discussion. Can you analyze the external environment, or even you cannot, or you can't analyze that external environment? And the second thing here on X is, what's the level of organizational intrusiveness? Is the organization passive? I mean, meaning that the organization doesn't do anything. I mean, they don't even read the newspapers to understand trends and behaviors and news. Or the level of intrusiveness of a given organization is active. That means that that organization regularly goes to the external environment and try to capture relevant information about clients, about trends, about new technologies, about services, about politics, economics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we all, all of us went to business schools. All of us were trained somehow in traditional management. We learned that, well, the environment is always analyzable, and your level of intrusiveness should be active. So we are always operating in discovery mode. Meaning what? That's what we do. Strategic planning, market research. We do a lot of surveys. We do a lot of data gathering. So it's okay. I mean, this is traditional management is good, and it serves a purpose. And the purpose is a purpose of efficiency, right? To increase performance. This is amazing, great. We should know how to speak this language. Hey, but there's a problem now. What happens if, even if your level of intrusiveness is active, what if you go out there and you can't analyze or you can't understand what's going on? So discovery does not work anymore. The tools you have learned for traditional management have no value here in this arena. So we get into this level called enacting. We should enact and try to create the environment we are going to live. So this is the space for experimentation, for invention, of learning, of prototyping, of learn by doing. So what I wish I knew is I wish I were bilingual. I wish I knew how to speak the language of discovery, traditional management, but also I wish I spoke the language of enacting, which is more an entrepreneurial management approach. Okay, so before I move to my proposal here and give you some tools I wish I had many years ago, my question is, what is innovation? I asked this question, I've been asking this question for the last 20 years, sitting with senior executives. As a matter of fact, I was delivering a keynote last week to 65 very senior PricewaterhouseCoopers consultants. And they wanted to learn about innovation and entrepreneurial management for innovation. So the first question is, what's innovation? How do you define innovation? My Chinese students in Hong Kong love this picture. Every time I teach, they want to see the picture again in the comments. So when you're talking about innovation, forget about your technology. Forget about your product specs. No one buys this. People don't care about this. I was just chosen by Amazon to test the new Amazon Halo. I don't know if you know what Halo is, Halo. Google it if you don't know. But I have no idea how this works, and I don't care. So what Amazon is trying to see is if they can understand what problems I am trying to solve. So forget about tech, forget about specs. No one buys this. No one understands. Nobody cares. And try to answer a very tough question, a very complex question. What is the problem your client, your customer, your suspect is trying to solve? What is the problem he or she is trying to execute? What are the tasks you're trying to execute? And how can you, innovator, entrepreneur, help them at a profit for you, making their lives easier, simpler, cheaper, fun, and more convenient? So that changes your focus a lot. So in my old days, I was always concerned about my tech. I was always building stuff because it felt very cool to build stuff, right? And to add features to my prototypes. But now I have learned a different thing. Try to understand what is the problem they're trying to solve, what are the tasks they're trying to execute. I recommend a book called Jobs to Be Done if you want to learn more about this, which is a really interesting approach, a really interesting framework. And then you understand that people don't want to buy drills because they don't want to buy holes. People say, well, when they buy a quarter-inch drill, they're trying to buy a hole. No one wants to put a hole in their new house. People are just trying to solve a different problem. They're trying to hang something on the wall. Who said you have to use this? Also, a very classic article. You can find that at the Harvard Business Review. It's called Marketing Myopia. So it's going to force you to think about the nature of problems you're solving. So one thing is to design the technology. Another thing is to design a solution. So 3M came with the idea that you no longer have to, put a hole in your wall, but you can use those stickers and hang your pictures there if you want. So remember, one thing is designing the product. Another thing is designing the experience. So that changes the game of innovation. That changed my game when I understood that I was I had the wrong approach to all this. Okay, so one of the definitions, another definition of innovation I like a lot, and I think I discussed that definition with Brad so many times, is that innovation is managing under conditions of uncertainty. So we have to get comfortable with uncertainty. We have to get very comfortable with ambiguity and know it's part of the business. And I want you guys to be bilingual. I want you to speak the language of traditional management. It has great value if you're running IBM, if you're running Intel, Honeywell, it doesn't matter. But you also have to speak the language of entrepreneurial management, thinking about uncertainty. So another thing I learned how to become a different leader. I had always this idea in my mind of being the CEO, being the chief executive officer, being the number one. And of course, my ego's skyrocketing. So I had to understand, I had to think about the nature of leadership and the nature of how can you engage people. So now that you understand that you should speak both languages, there's some very interesting books about leading for innovation and leading for entrepreneurship. So 4 aspects of this new leadership I'd like to share with you. I remember when Scott Cook said that, don't hire MBAs. MBAs don't teach people how to create companies. Okay, right. But don't forget, there's great value in traditional management. So we should speak both languages. Okay, so the first thing is thinking about a leadership in a different way. You have to move from being the chief executive officer to being the chief experimenter office, right? People who are chief experimenters, they are okay with uncertainty and ambiguity. They have great passion for finding the best talent. They know they are not competent in all fields or arenas. So they look for people who's got the skills, who has the skills and the competencies that leader lacks. So you try to recruit people that are good, that are competent, where you are not. And it's people, chief experimenters are people who have the passion to create with other people. The second is you got to set the grand challenge. So Brent was just teaching a course at the new MSIVD program of ASU. And he was teaching students about what's the greatest problem you want to solve? What's the biggest pain point you have to solve? What are the problems our clients are facing? How can we solve that? That's the second aspect of this entrepreneurial leadership I'm talking about. And then I would say that the third aspect of leading those teams is you must build expertise, broad expertise and deep expertise. We call this T-shaped. You have to become a T-shaped yourself. I mean, meaning that you have great expertise in one domain and you have enough general knowledge, general culture to be able to talk and establish a conversation between different domains, different fields of knowledge. And finally, they remove barriers to change and remove barriers to and install the sense that we have to experiment, and we have to just experiment very, very, very fast. So I have to ensure I have the right capabilities, and I have to be sure that my team can speak both languages at the same time. So when I'm teaching traditional management, and I get lots of calls to discuss innovation, strategic innovation management, in a lot of companies. And if it's a traditional management problem, right? Problems of linear problems, problems of relative certainty. Well, I discuss 4 elements with them when I think about innovation. First, what's your strategy? How does innovation fit in here? Second, what are the problems you're going to face at execution? Don't talk to me about execution, I mean, broadly about execution. What are the problems you're facing in execution? Do you have the right tools to make it happen? And those tools, do they communicate with the strategy? And how are you going to measure this? You must have a set of metrics. So I always give them a simple framework to establish the conversation. But when we're dealing with uncertainty, that framework is not useful at all. So I challenge you to get any innovation process in academia or businesses that you like, and use them to think about innovation and try to divide the innovation processes into a few steps. This is a book I introduced. I think Brent didn't know. I gave Brent this book. What do you think about this? And those authors here, Furr and Dyer, they split the innovation process in 4 steps. First thing you must generate insights. Then you must frame problems. Then you should develop solutions very fast. And then you must think about your go-to-market strategy, your business model. How are you going to make money? Okay, I have learned another thing in academia and helping executives in executive education. So it's not enough to tell people that they must apply design thinking, that they must generate insights. You got to teach them how to do it. Because most consultants tell you, well, you must generate insights. Oh, you must apply design thinking. And I ask, how? Most people have no idea. They have no clue how to do it. So this same book here has a very simple framework. For every step of the innovator's method, that's the thing I wish I knew when I was 20, is what are the tools I have? Which tools can I use to make it happen? Second, how can I run tests very fast to make sure I am on the right path? And what's the outcome? Should I keep going? Is it good enough? Is it satisfying? Or should I pivot? So for every step, insight, problem, prototype, business model, apply this common framework: tools, tests, and outcome. So briefly, so I can close here and you can ask questions. How do you generate insights? That's the first question. So most people believe that they can generate insights sitting at their office. What was the last time you went out there and talked to someone? What was the last time that you interviewed people, observed, interact, networked? So think about the behaviors entrepreneurs and innovators need. How can you generate insights very fast? Michael Dell had a great insight when he founded Dell Computers, right? He went to a shop in New York, and he learned that he learned about the price of an IBM PC, and he asked himself, why does an IBM PC cost 5 times more than the sum of its parts? That's a very powerful insight. After you generate insights, well, you should frame problems. Are my insights problems worth solving? Are they monetizable? Can I make money with this? Oh, by the way, I have to say one thing. The catalyst for insights is surprise. What has surprised you? What did you not expect to see or hear? So every time there's strong emotions, that's probably a good sign that that problem or that insight is valuable. So here, are we talking about big problems, or are we talking about problems that no one would pay you to solve? So I'm looking at those big problems. Some authors call those problems, they call them shark bites. So problems that keep executives awake, that keep people awake, that stress them, that worry them a lot. So those problems involving high emotions are great. This is a great sign that the problem is worth solving, and most probably you can make money solving that problem. So you must frame problems in search of monetizable problems. Okay, this is a quick example when you think about customer experience or customer journey, right? Look at the pain points. Where are the pain points? And those pain points are good signs that you must be in the right direction. Then you come up with a prototype. I love this quote here from IDEO. I met David Kelly when I was president of HSM Brazil 6-7 years ago. And I remember Kelly talking about this. He has a new book called Creative Confidence that I think you should read. A prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. I wish I knew that a long time ago. Well, last 10 years, I've been telling my team members, well, don't come to this meeting with one more PowerPoint. I mean, just bring me a prototype. Show me how you can solve that problem. Bring me something functional, useful. And if you remember, you have 4 different types of prototypes. You can think of pretendotypes, theoretical prototypes, virtual prototypes, MVP. I don't like calling MVP the minimum viable product. I don't like giving people the idea that it is a product. The goal of prototyping is to learn and learn fast, right? So I like calling the MVP the minimum viable prototype. What is the feature you want to test with real customers? Remember, don't ask customers to innovate for you. Innovators innovate, customers only validate. And finally, you have your business model, where you discuss your go-to-market strategy. This is a relative new tool called the business model canvas. You have to think about costs. You have to think about key resources. You have to think about your revenue streams, your partnerships, etc. There are many different tools to think about your business model. I like the business model canvas. It's easy to prototype, very intuitive, but there's also a thing called the business model snapshot. And there's one I like a lot called PSM. It's called the price sensitivity meter. You're trying to figure out at what price point you can sell that with real customers, right? Real people. And if you find that spot, that sweet spot, then you can bring it back, run your P&L, your income statement, and see if you can make a profit by solving that problem. Okay, then you move back to scale. Well, okay, scale now is no longer a problem of entrepreneurial management. You're back at traditional management. So I wish I knew how to frame problems, how to be bilingual, speaking both traditional management and entrepreneurial management, and English and Spanish and Italian and Mandarin. And my last few topics for you. I started all my businesses with my best buddies, with my best friends, right? And I had friends, longtime friends. I had friends in different countries, different cultures, different perspectives. So one thing that I learned, I love all my friends. I love all my buddies. Those guys were highly important in my life, and I learned a lot with them. But I didn't take care of a thing called contracts. So if you're founding with friends, make sure you have a contract establishing the rules of the game at day 0. Don't wait till you are successful. And then when you make money, you probably learn things about your friends that you won't like. And those lessons can be painful and costly, and they can mean lawsuits. So make sure your friends, you love them, but make sure to do it right at the very beginning. So don't pay attention to this picture. This is just a marker for me. But my last question to you, are you becoming a more interesting person yourself? Because we're looking for interesting people. I look for interesting people everywhere I go. I want to find someone I can talk to, I can learn, I can exchange ideas. Like my buddy here, Brent Siebold, right? I want to sit down. I like to talk to this guy a lot. And we are both drummers, so we have a thing in common. But what are you doing to become a more interesting person? What are you reading? What are you studying? Because listen, if you're spending 99% of your time on social media, you're not becoming an interesting person. What are you reading? Who are you talking to? Who are your references? I'm not saying shut down Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook. Most people who watch The Social Dilemma, oh no, I have to shut it down. No, you don't. You use it wise. Use it to make money. I use it a lot to sell a lot of the stuff I sell, consulting, lectures, keynotes, etc. Right? But make sure to use your time wise. Read the good stuff. Become interesting. Embrace challenges. Embrace uncertainty and ambiguity. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening, and ask me whatever you want.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Riva. Really appreciate your time and your energy and your insights here today. Those are some fantastic takeaways. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this formal portion of the Make It Happen session, and then I'm sure there's many folks that are here today that want to engage with you. So thanks again, Riva. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brent.